UFC Paris is this weekend, and they are giving us 14 fights to make up for the fact that we had no fights last weekend. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC Paris fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and DraftKings Fantasy Plays. But before I do that, let me remind you of where we are, and we have been crushing it the last few months. The last few months have been absolute printing press events for the premium membership community. DK wins alone, DraftKings Fantasy wins alone have accounted for about $50,000 in tickets. We have this message from Jonathan. He put up $10,000 in DraftKings. And he said, Angelo, I just hit for 10K using the optimizer. We got a message from Pete. Pete said, you had two different premium members take first place. And you know how he knows that? Both of those people had the We Want Picks logo as their profile picture in the tournament. We had another user reach out saying, I hit a $21,000 entry. Thank you so much for the resources I finally broke through. This is not an accident. One person randomly winning is an accident, but the wild variety of premium members reaching out saying the optimizer did this, the other tools did that, you have multiple members sharing first place over here, that's not an accident. All of these people have gone to my website, wewantpicks.com, and they became premium members. It is only $10. It's $10 to unlock every tool, every asset, every pick, every bet, everything that we have. And that's exactly what these users did. They paid $10 a month, unlocked all the tools, and made all of this money. One of those tools is the event simulator. This simulates every fight on the card 100,000 times. One click of the button, and the system is bringing in historical striking stats, historical grappling stats, DraftKings information, and it's bringing all that together to simulate the fights with only data. And then it's going to give you the outputs. You see who wins, who losses, what those wins and losses look like, how many strikes they land along the way. And then you can come down here, click Build Lineups. It'll build DraftKings Fantasy Lineups for you. If that's a little too fancy, a little too rich for your blood, we have a DraftKings Fantasy Optimizer. This will build DraftKings Fantasy Lineups for you with a couple clicks of the button. And if you know how to use an optimizer, it does all the things you would expect it to do. And if you don't know how to use an optimizer, we have the industry's first beginner mode. You click one button, and now it's going to ask you a series of logical questions like, who are your most confident favorites? Instead of expecting you to understand how to use it. Every single one of these tools and 30 other tools are available right now for $10. It's $10 an entire month. We don't separate the tools. We don't say bets are one package and DFS is another. It's $10 even, flat, across the board. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Unlock all of it instantly for not just UFC Paris, but also Noche UFC, UFC Perth, and UFC 320. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. I mentioned by saying there are 14 fights. We had no fights last weekend. And that's always such a tough spot because on one hand, like, ooh, I get a Saturday because I am the one who has to do the research and the content and the graphics. So I don't always get to just chill on a Saturday and watch the fights because I get to watch the fights and then I'm accountable for the fights. And then I got to sit here and film my video after the fights. And for the most part, I love it. I love sitting here. I love talking about fights. I love breaking down fights. I love all of that. But every now and then, every few months when we have a week off and I just get to sit there with my dick in my hand on a Saturday, it's like, ooh, this is nice. But the wait is over and the fights are back. We have 14 fights to break down. So let's stop talking about our genitalia and start talking about these fights. We're going to open it up with a couple of ladies. We have Sam Hughes taking on Shauna Bannon. I am very confident in Sam Hughes here. Here's the tricky part of being confident in Sam Hughes. I think she comes forward. I think she gets the win. She has endless cardio. She does have takedowns. She does have control. And I think she dominates this fight. I'm not concerned at all. But she is expensive at $9,200. And in the entirety of her UFC career, she has only surpassed that number twice. One was in her last fight against Stephanie Luciano. She had 3 takedowns, had some control time, an incredible amount of significant strikes. So I actually do think she may end up being worth that price tag because she could come forward and get multiple takedowns, have control time, land a gazillion strikes. So I do think Sam Hughes is somebody you should probably look at. That price point is tricky, but I think she's as close to a sure thing as you're going to get for a win. It's just a matter of how many points she scores. If we do take a look at her opponent, Shauna Bannon's more concerned with pushing her OnlyFans than she is at improving her fighting skills. You know how I know that? Her entire Twitter timeline is just like, oh, is that my butt by accident? Oops. And then when I watch her fight in the cage, she's hopping on 1 foot across. Just 1 foot bouncing across like a child playing hopscotch. She's got that old school martial arts style. It's kind of nonsense. Doesn't really translate to a ton of success. I thought she did not beat Alice Ardeline. And the only reason she did beat Pooja Tamar is because she was knocked into oblivion. And Pooja has no idea how to not get armbarred. I don't think Shauna's very good. I don't think she should be in your lineups. Then we have Alexander Gustafsson. And by Alexander, I mean Andreas. Alexander is retired. We have Andreas Gustafsson taking on Rinat Fakhretdinov. Andreas is the favorite dog of the week. And obviously here, he is a favorite. He was an underdog for a considerable amount of time. That line closed, and then boop, flipped to favorite. The tricky part here is he doesn't have this big, great body of work to lean on. We're really leaning on his one UFC fight. We're looking at the one win over Chaos Williams, and we're saying that Andreas Gustafsson, because he beat Chaos Williams, can beat Rinat Fakhretdinov. Style-wise, this dude has endless cardio. He moves forward. He gets in your face. He drags you to the ground. He throws hands. He doesn't tire. He's very tough. He's durable. He does all the things. In his words, not mine, he said, I went full retard. And if that's his fight style, in this fight, he might have some success because Rinat, while a very, very good wrestler, has been in trouble a handful of times. Nicholas Dalby almost finished him. Eliza Zaleski almost finished him. Carlos Leal defended 14 takedowns. And actually, I'm wrong. I got 17 takedowns. He defended 17 takedowns. So this 3-fight stretch, when he actually stepped up a level of competition, while their wins on paper, 2 of them, they haven't been the most impressive. Before that, he ran through Andreas Michailidis. Who cares? Brian Battle couldn't defend a takedown. He submits retired food truck owner Kevin Lee. Rinat Fakhretdinov is a guy that I have ridden to the promised land. He was in multiple safety parlays. He's made us $1 gazillion. And when he wins, he scores pretty well. 91 points, 100 points. This 67, that's because it was a draw. Add 30 to that if you want. Now it's 97. 130 points, 130 points, 109 points. And that's because he is a nonstop wrestler with tons of control time. This fight will come down to whoever shoots the takedowns first. If Andreas gets the takedowns, he's going to win. If Rinat gets the takedowns, he's going to win. I do think Andreas is probably the scrappier of the two, and that's because of the endless cardio. But he has never fought anybody as good as Rinat. I'm going to pick Andreas here. I do wish he was a full-blown underdog. Whatever side you're on, you should have that person in your DraftKings fantasy lineup because the winner of this fight likely scores as many points as you possibly can. So I'm leaning Andreas. Andreas will be the one in my lineup. Then we have Brad Tavares and Robert Bryczek. And this is another interesting fight because Brad Tavares is a good-sized favorite here and he is priced accordingly, and I can't figure out why he's so expensive. Let's go through his fight history and look for all the finishes. Here's one. Oh, he got finished. Here's one. Oh, he got finished. Let me keep looking. Here's one. Oh, he got finished. Hold on, guys. We'll find one. In 2018, he beat Jotko for a finish. In 2018, he scored 81 points in his only finish in 7 years. He's $9,100 right now. That's a long roundabout way to say Brad Tavares should not be in your DraftKings fantasy lineup. He doesn't score well. He's a good, well-rounded MMA fighter. I think he could probably win this fight. Might use some cage control, just good old veteran savvy. But he does not score well in DraftKings fantasy. I mean, look at this. 51 points in a win. 51. 58 when he beat Chris Weidman coming back after his leg being in 9 pieces. Whether you think Brad wins or loses, he should not be in your lineup. Robert Bryczek, giant disappointment in his UFC debut. He is a boxer. He's got that traditional boxing style, super fast, very light in his feet, does a lot of feints. You can see he's pretty low volume, 32 significant strikes in 15 minutes. There's a lot of feints. He probably had 200 feints, but only 32 significant strikes actually left and landed. And it's a lot of this. If he gets you to bite, he will unload. There is power there. He is fast. He is clean. But he's not high volume. I'm not going to have him in my lineup either. He's only $7,100. So he certainly is at an affordable price point. And he might win this fight. So he is a solid underdog. With me specifically, if I'm doing a single entry cash game, I might have some Robert in there. But if you're doing I will not have Robert in there. If you're doing the large field GPP multiple entry tournaments, you should have some exposure. You should have some Robert Bryczek lineups because he could win this fight. And even if he scores, let's say 80, well, he was only $7,100 and he's not going to be very well owned. So some exposure there could be helpful. Then we have Sam Patterson taking on Trey Waters. You will see my bias here. What you will also see is Casper the Friendly Ghost. Sam Patterson is the most pale person I have ever seen in my life. Like, I had to turn the brightness down on my screen before filming this video because of how insanely bright Sam Patterson is. That is photoshopped. They photoshopped a general redness because they're like, at least if we make him look like a ginger, they'll at least think he's a human being and not a serpent. So that's what they did. The way he fights, I also don't like. He stands ridiculous with his chin in the air and he throws punches like this, begging to be connected on, begging to be knocked out. The problem is he has thrown together a couple of wins. Obviously, Yanal Ashmaz smoked him in his UFC debut. He was a tremendous favorite. I picked Yanal because I said this dude's chin is wild, wide up in the air, and Yanal will just come forward and bomb away, and I was 100% correct. Now, can I apply my correct logic in 2023 to a lineup today? No, I cannot. But he went on to beat Johan Lioness. That dude got cut. Kiefer Crosby, we all know what dog shit that guy is. The Borralho win is actually a quality win. That is a good win, which is a bit frustrating here because Sam Patterson on his feet, he is 6'3" at this weight class. He doesn't use any of that length or reach on the feet. On the ground, he does. In this case, he threw it. It happened to be long, it happened to connect, and it happened to get the job done. He is taking on a fellow tall man in Trey Waters. Trey Waters is 6'5". Trey Waters also has dog in him. Went to war with Quinlan, went to war with Goff. Trey Waters is a guy that will absolutely get after it. He's 6'5". He's not that lanky, see-through build that we get from Sam Patterson. He's got some power in his hands. He is willing to scrap. He's durable. He uses his length on his feet. He's got a really long jab that he just pumps out there. I think Trey Waters wins this fight. I'm picking him to win. Now, DraftKings Fantasy, because he pumps that jab so often and doesn't really initiate offensive takedowns very often, he doesn't score that well. So if I spend $7,500 and he wins this fight and I was correct on a massive underdog that nobody else in this space is picking, I am the only person that has said Trey Waters will win this fight. The only one. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. That just comes with the territory. The problem is I could have him in my lineup, be right, brag to the world, throw my nuts on the table, talk about how I'm a genius, and still only have 76 points in my DraftKings Fantasy lineup. So I probably won't have him in a lineup. I do think he can win this fight. Then we have a new addition to the card. We have Harry Hardwick taking on Kaue Fernandes. Harry Hardwick is the Cage Warriors champion. And I don't know if you've heard that before, but literally fucking everybody is the Cage Warriors champion. There are more Cage Warrior champions floating around in this world than there are any other individual thing of anything ever. Everybody is a Cage Warriors champion. Everybody. Every fighter in the UFC from Europe at some point in time was a Cage Warriors champion. It's ridiculous. With that being said, people seem to love him. He is a 145-pounder that will be fighting at 155 pounds in this fight. He's a stocky striker. He stands tall. He pressures forward. He does like to jump in and out of the pocket. If you fire back, he's gone. He's backing up. He's out of that pocket. When things get dicey, he'll look to tie you up. He'll look to take you down. He's very long. He uses teep kicks to keep you at distance. But because he's got a weird stance, his front leg can get absolutely demolished. And that might be a problem for him here because Kaue Fernandes demolishes front legs. Kaue Fernandes is a very well-rounded guy that can do a lot of things and a lot of things well. If we go look at the Garam fight, he beat the piss out of Garam. He outstruck him. He outgrappled him. He out-everythinged Garam here. He could have almost finished him, but didn't. And the funny part is, people have no love or respect for Kaue Fernandes, but the good news is, because people can't stand Kaue Fernandes, and because DraftKings does not adjust their pricing, we get Kaue Fernandes at $6,800. And guess the fuck what? He 100% should be in your lineup, because not only is he the favorite here, I think he runs through Harry Hardwick, and at $6,800, you cannot go wrong. And this is just a very fortunate outcome with tricky circumstances. He was supposed to fight Faraz Siam. Faraz Siam was the tremendous favorite. Faraz is out, and DraftKings does not adjust their pricing, which I don't know why. It makes no sense that they don't adjust their pricing, but they don't. So Kaue Fernandes will be in my lineup and should absolutely be in yours. Then we have Marcin Tybura taking on Ante Delija. Marcin Tybura is an interesting guy to break down because he is a heavyweight. He's not a small guy, but he doesn't have that big heavyweight power. He's not knocking people out. What he's doing is he's throwing 100 little baby strikes, grinding, getting you to the ground, and just working from there. He just beat Mick Parkin in a fight where he only had one takedown, which is unlike him in a matchup like that because he barely attempted takedowns. He only attempted 2. Before that, he beats Jonathan Deniz in a fight where he was almost knocked unconscious, then gets his own takedown, and a reversal, ends up winning that fight. The Spivak fight, he gets a takedown immediately, gets submitted. The Tai Tuivasa fight, gets a takedown immediately, does the submission. And then obviously Tom Aspinall knocked him out a couple of years ago. Marcin Tybura is good. He's durable. He's well-rounded. He's fought a very high-level competition. He's also a little bit old. But so is his opponent because Ante Delija is not a name that you've heard unless you're a diehard MMA fan and watch the trash that is the PFL. But Andre Delija is a big dude at 6'5", and he can do all the things. He can strike, he can grapple, he's big, he's aggressive, he gets after it, he throws bombs, he shoots takedowns, he's got good control on top, he's looking for finishes, but he's 35, he's not very young, and he's making his UFC debut here. This really comes down to how you feel about fighters outside the UFC, because you guys were very clear, that fighters outside the UFC are dog shit trash. You guys were, I've never seen a bigger consensus in my life. We saw it when Patchy Mix got smoked. We saw it when Aaron Pico got smoked. And you guys went on and on and on about how bad non-UFC fighters are. But hey, you guys are over here betting on Ante Delija. So what is it? What is it? Is it the non-UFC fighters suck shit? Or do you guys just like to run with that narrative after the loss? Because right now you guys are betting on him. You're betting on him. Because the line flipped. Marcin was the favorite. He's now the dog. I'm going to pick Marcin here. As far as DraftKings is concerned, he could score well. Because if he gets the takedowns and has the control, he could absolutely score well. But I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to leave him out of my lineup. We have 28 fighters to choose from. I'm going to leave him out because Ante Delija is big at 6'5", and Marcin might not go all in on the wrestling. He might be in a situation like he was against Mick Parkin, where he's just trying to jab his way to win, and that only scored 62 points. So we're not going to experiment with that. Then we have Oumar Sy taking on Brendson Ribeiro, $9,500 Oumar Sy. Let's take a look at how he did last fight. And I know I just said how he did last fight. He was $9,500 in his last fight too. Let's see what he scored. 27 fucking points. Fuck Oumar Sy. Don't put him in your lineup. That's it. I do think he wins this fight though. And he probably wins by finish, I would assume. Because Oumar Sy is big. He is athletic. He can get the takedowns. He can do a lot of things. He can also fight a staring contest, which is what this 34 strikes in 15 minutes. What a joke. Absolute clown shoe. The reason he probably wins this fight is he's taking on Brendson Ribeiro. Brendson Ribeiro is dangerous. Kill or be killed for the most part. He is dangerous. He's a guy that will get after it on the feet, throw a bunch of strikes, get in your face, try to make something happen. If you take him down, he's live for a submission. That's what happened against Nurgazai here. Hit him a few times. Nurgazai said, let me get the takedown. Got the takedown. Was immediately submitted with a Kimura. He does have a quit button. Now, these are decent losses here. Mirzakhanov is a good loss. Zhang Mingyang is a good loss. Gadzi Asulov, decent loss. The problem with Brendson is his cardio sucks and he has a quit button. So what I think will happen here is he'll throw a few strikes early. They will land, And then Oumar's going to say, no, thank you. Shoot takedowns, take over from there. I'm not going to put Oumar in a lineup, although he could potentially get a finish here and score really well. But we're going to leave it alone. Coming off his last performance, while I do trust he's going to win, I can only be so exposed to one fighter. Then we have William Gomis taking on UFC newcomer Robert Ruchala. This is a fight where you got to be careful. Also, full fade for William Gomis in your DraftKings fantasy lineup. Look at this. 48 points, 64 points, 69 points, 42 points, 80 points. He won all but one of those. Guy can't score points for shit. And that's because he's a French savate fighter. Hangs out on the outside, does his fancy little distance moves. Nothing too exciting. Doesn't get after it. The Joanderson Brito fight is the most active we've ever seen him. And he only scored 64 points in a win that I don't think he deserved. Obviously, he landed more total strikes in the Hyder Ammo fight, but that's because Hyder's just moving forward like this. So William has to throw some strikes. William Gomis is a well-rounded fighter. He's a technical fighter. He's a good fighter. He's got that Muay Thai stance. He'll fight at distance. He can snatch the submission up in an exchange. I'm still leaving this shit alone. I'm not putting him in my lineup. I do think he wins this fight, though. He's taking on UFC newcomer Robert Ruchala. He's an athletic striker. He's going to jump. He's going to spin. He's going to do kicks. He'll wrestle. He'll attack from all angles. He is well-rounded. He's got fantastic pressure, a wide variety of attacks, but he is hittable. And if he comes in chaotically, William's just going to do the counter-striking French nonsense. If William moves forward, Robert doesn't fight nearly as well moving forward as he does, moving back as he does moving forward, and he's hittable. So William wins this fight, likely a decision and likely low scoring. Then we have Patricio Pitbull taking on UFC newcomer Losene. Losene, absolute destroyer. Big dude, fast, hits hard, wildly athletic. He's creative on his feet. He's got offensive striking and counter striking. And you see the speed in the sprawls. The problem is I don't have a ton of footage, right? It's not as if this guy's got 9 hours of fight time and we see him defending real deep takedowns. We don't have that. What we do have is him shooting or him hitting really fast sprawls when somebody attempts a takedown, but that's it. So I don't quite know how good his takedown defense actually is. I know he's fast as hell. I know his hips hit the mat very quickly, and I know he's dangerous on the feet. And he's going to need all of those skills because he's taking on Patricio Pitbull. It is Patricio Fieri. Pitbull is a nickname, but it has sort of eclipsed his real name. Pitbull is a former Bellator great. I think it was a 16-fight stretch where every single one of those fights was for a title, defending his title, or trying to fight a new title. It was crazy, the success that he had. 45-pound world champion, 55-pound world champion, fought for the 35-pound title, but was just a little too small. He comes forward, he's got good technical and aggressive striking, and he will grapple, mostly grapple. He had 5 takedowns against Dan Ige. That's what got him the win, and that scored really well for him at 85 points. Patricio Pitbull has had a pretty quick turnaround here as well. He just fought in July. He fought in April and then July, and now he's going to fight in September. Patricio Pitbull had a long layoff in Bellator, and now that layoff is done. He's like, let me get after it and make up for lost opportunities. So Pitbull, tried and true vet. But he's getting a little older. He's slowing down. This comes down to if he gets the takedowns or not. I think you need some exposure to Pitbull in some lineups. I'm going to pick Kiata here because he's just so fast. He does seem to have solid cardio. The takedown defense seems good. And we might see the difference in age here. I mean, it's a 145-pound fight. Speed matters very much at this weight class. And Patricio's slowing down. So Kiata's going to be the pick. You should have some exposure to Pitbull, just given the low price point. And if he does get takedowns, he will score really, really well. Then we have another new fight and another UFC debut. We have Axel Sola. Axel Sola is taking on Rhys McKee. Axel Sola just stepped up on a few days' notice. This is the newest addition to this fight card. Axel Sola is a young French prospect. This is his first crack at anything meaningful in a fight level. He's a good boxer, clean jab. He has an interesting stance with low hands, but he throws really, really hard and does a really good job pumping the jab and then mixing in heavy leg kicks. His takedown defense is just okay, but if that fails him, he's got good submission defense, he stays safe, and he could work his way back up. He is fast, he's explosive, and he is a favorite here, which is a bit surprising because he's taking on Rhys McKee. Is Rhys McKee good? I mean, he's not great. Lost to Chimaev in 2020. Lost to Alexander Morono, just Alex, not Alexander, lost to Losa, lost to Injikawani, finally beat whoever the fuck Frunza is. And that's the problem with this fight, where Rhys McKee is actually a very durable guy. Sure, Chimaev blew through him, but that is what it is. The decision to Alex Morono was somewhat close. The Angelosa decision, somewhat close. The Chidi Njokuani decision, very close. He's a durable guy. He uses his length well. He's long. He's accurate. He's got speed. There is some random power there, but that's really just because of the accuracy, the speed, and the length. He does typically avoid grappling, but you can see in this Chidi and Njokuani fight, he had almost 8 minutes of control time, and that's because he was holding Chidi against the cage. I think this fight's going to be more the same. First of all, he's the bigger fighter. He's a 170-pounder. Axel is a 155-pounder. Second of all, he's very, very durable. Third, he had the full fight camp. Fourth, if Axel comes in and he is fast and he is connecting, Rhys is just going to look to hold him against the cage, and because he's durable, he'll be fine. I think Rhys McKee wins this fight. Problem is, I don't have enough data here to know what he would score if he won. Let's say they gave him the Chidi decision. That's 66 points. Let's say they gave him the Losa decision. That's 64 points. Let's say they gave him the Morono decision. 82 points. Now, that's a much more appetizing number. I think Rhys wins. I'm more confident in him than some of the other underdogs, but I think his upside in a DraftKings lineup is not as high. Then we have Balaji Oki taking on Mason Jones. Balaji Oki is a very dangerous striker, and Mason Jones is also a very dangerous striker. And the reason I pointed out Balaji is a good striker is because I think that's going to force Mason Jones to do what? Wrestle. He had 8 takedowns against Jeremy Stevens. He had 8 takedowns against David Onama. Both of those gentlemen are good strikers. And because they're good strikers, they were able to connect and land clean and have success. So Mason said, fuck it, I'm wrestling. And he wrestled his little heart out, and he scored a gazillion points along the way. I do think Mason wins. I do think he wrestles. Therefore, I think he scores a bunch of points. He's taking on Balaji Oki. Balaji Oki's a dangerous striker. Balaji Oki is fast. He hits hard. He will get in your face. He does make some mistakes, like the Chris Duncan fight. Shot a takedown for no reason, got subbed. He did just beat Michael Aswell, but that was a split decision. And who the hell is Michael Aswell? Before that, he beats Timmy Kwamba. I think Balaji Oki is a good fighter, a dangerous fighter, but I think his grappling will get exposed here when Mason starts diving at legs, and Mason Jones will be in my lineup. Then we have Modestas Bukauskas taking on Paul Craig. This fight comes down to how washed you think Paul Craig is. Modestas Bukauskas is a good striker, a very good striker. He was actually cut a few years ago. And then after he got cut, he went ahead, went back to the drawing board, had his knee repaired after Khalil Roundtree just smashed it to smithereens, comes back to the UFC, earns himself a bunch of wins. Look at this recent streak. Beats Pedro, beats Pauga, loses to Vitor Petrino, but that's before we knew that guy sucked. Beats Prochniau, beats Sequeira, beats Kutalaba. Modestas Bukauskas was a solo striker that is evolving his game. The takedown defense is good. The striking is spectacular, and he's got a ton of confidence coming into this fight. He is taking on Paul Craig. I mentioned this entire fight comes down to how washed you think Paul Craig is. Let's see. Didn't win his last fight because he was almost... he lost 2 rounds. Almost found a finish, though. Loses to Bo Nickel. Oh, Ange, was he out-wrestled? That's fine, but no, he was outstruck. Loses to Kyle Borralho. Quality loss. Loses to Brendan Allen. Quality loss. Beats Andre Muniz, jiu-jitsu nerd. Loses to Johnny Walker. Loses to Volkan Ozdemir. The only people he's beaten are people that have made dumbass mistakes, like Hill, who got armbarred after knocking him down. Nikita Krylov, who shoots a takedown for no goddamn reason. Those are the people that he's beating, and those are the people that he has. These wins are from 2020, 2022. Andre Muniz was a win 2 years ago, but Andre Muniz is all jiu-jitsu. And if he can't get his jiu-jitsu going, which is hard to do against somebody like Paul Craig, what's he going to do? Paul Craig is a very good jiu-jitsu guy. He'll take his beating. If you follow him on the ground, he will look to submit you. I just think he's full washed. He is durable and finishable at the exact same time. It's very weird. So if you think he's done, then put Bukauskas in your lineup because Bukauskas can find a finish. Bukauskas is definitely the pick. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. Benoit Saint Denis taking on Mauricio Ruffi. You guys are going to hate this breakdown. Benoit loses this fight. I don't think Benoit's like that good. He's very, very tough. He's very tough. And he comes forward and he grinds. He's got the sling blade mouth. And he's a guy that made a life for himself outside of the octagon by being a war hero. Like, I get all of that. But skill for skill, he's not very skilled. He relies on general toughness. And you know what? That works when you're fighting freaking Dustin Stoltz. When you're fighting Gabriel Fly Miranda. He did beat Bonfim. That's a quality win. The Moises win, I mean, that's not... Moises is undersized and just kind of bullied him. Matt Frivola, not great. But then they step him up. They said, here's a real fighter. Dustin Poirier beats him. Nobody had staff, Angelo. Great. What was his excuse when he lost to Renato Moicano? And we just saw that Renato Moicano is not very good either. He just lost. Pretty sloppily, might I add. Oh, but don't worry, guys. He beat Prepelic. And the reason I'm doing such an aggressive anti-Benoit Saint Denis breakdown now is because you guys are 100% convinced that Benoit Saint Denis wins this fight. And you keep saying the same thing. He fought the higher level of competition. He lost to the higher... He got finished by Dustin. He got finished by Moicano. He lost to the higher level of competition. Mauricio Ruffi hasn't lost yet to the higher level of competition. And has he fought a murderer's row? No. He fought Jacob. He beat James Yontop. I will say, listen, go back and watch the Yontop fight because you might say, who the hell is he? He's the most durable human being that's ever existed, is who he is. And then he spinning back heel kicks Bobby Green. There are unknowns here. We don't quite know how good his takedown defense is. What I do know is what I've seen with my own eyes, that he's a spectacular striker who doesn't get frustrated, who stays busy, who is wildly creative. What I do know with my own ears is that everybody on his team, Jean Silva, who is having a ton of success. Caio Borralho, who's fighting in this main event. Carlos Prates, who has had a ton of success. All of them say that Mauricio Ruffi is the best one on the team. So I'm going to take their word for it. I'm going to trust the process here. Mauricio is a considerable favorite. He is expensive, but he seems to be worth his money. I have seen Benoit Saint Denis get finished. He's not unfinishable. He's not James Yontop. I've seen him get finished. I would not be surprised if Mauricio Ruffi had some wild success and scored a ton of points. I probably have him in my lineup. And then we have the main event of the evening. Caio Borralho taking on Nasruddin Imavov. This is a tricky one because I think this is a 50-50 fight. This is rightfully so a number one contender matchup. They are competing with two other fighters in a number one contender matchup, but rightfully so, the winner of this should or could get a title shot depending on how they win. Caio Borralho, as we all know, is a good grappler. We know that, right? We've seen that. We know that. But if we look, this guy hasn't shot takedowns in years. Magomedov, no takedowns. Craig, no takedowns. Cannonier, no takedowns. He hasn't shot a takedown since he beat Mikhail Letsichuk in 2023. So if you're expecting him to come out here, wrestle heavy, and get a bunch of takedowns, I don't know if we can rely on that. What you can rely on, though, is Caio Borralho doing what he needs to do to win. Does that mean stay safe with the jab? Maybe. Does that mean shoot takedowns? Maybe. But this isn't going to be an easy fight because Nasruddin Imavov is good. Now, there is a concerning loss on here, like when Sean Strickland beat him. That was concerning because Sean Strickland just backed him up and stayed in his face and backed him up. The loss to Phil Hawes, that's fine. I can live with that. Division I national champion wrestler who got the takedowns, and that was before that dude had no chin whatsoever. Sean Strickland, however, that loss is a little concerning only because Caio Borralho could end up fighting a very similar fight. We've seen him use the striking more and more, so if he's just coming forward, staying in Imavov's face with the striking, it could back Imavov up. Imavov is also a very good wrestler, and that's what makes this fight interesting because if Caio looks to wrestle, Imavov can counter wrestle. We saw it in the Allen fight. Allen took him down, and then Caio Borralho made the adjustments, defended all the takedowns, pieced him up, made him look stupid after that. Imavov is a dangerous striker, but he takes his time. He doesn't overly expose. He doesn't get too risky. He doesn't chase. He's a very well-rounded guy. I'm going to pick Imavov to win this fight. I fully understand all the love coming in for Kaue. I think it's a 50-50 fight, and it might be the rare case where I fade a main event because I think, unfortunately for the fans, we end up with a boring decision. I think Nasruddin loses the first, maybe the second, and then just starts to take over as Kaue loses his speed and can't be as snappy and then looks to wrestle, but Nasruddin defends the takedowns. I think Nasruddin wins a boring decision, does not end up with a title shot because of it, but that's just my opinion. Don't only take my word for it. Check out our tools. If you go to WeWantPicks.com, we have a full suite of tools. One of those tools is the event simulator. This will simulate fights 100,000 times, give you the outputs. You can see who the simulator thinks wins. Take a look at the optimizer. Friday evenings, after the weigh-ins are said and done, the optimizer is fully loaded with ownership projections, scoring projections. And you can run the optimizer, which will build lineups for you based off of all of those projections. Check out every other capper on our websites, picks and bets and breakdowns. All of these things are available. It's $10 for one package, $10 an entire month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. $10 unlocks the world. This is a good fight card. Next week's a good fight card. Perth is a good fight card. UFC 320 is a great fight card. Unlock all of it. Good luck this weekend.